So Laura from Texas has this question. What has the Lord been speaking to you regarding the direction of the ecclesia, the church, and the coming changes in the next season or era? Is there a particular thought that keeps being emphasized? So, direction of the church. There's a few different things that I could go at. I've actually got a couple things I feel like the Lord's saying about the church and Streams Tribe. Actually, this season that we're in, one of the things that's marking it is Matthew 13:52. Jesus gives this parable. It says that a scribe that is studied in the things of the kingdom is like a wise householder who draws out of his treasures things both old and new. And that we're in a season right now where God is pulling things from previous seasons, maybe promises that he'd given us in a previous season, and we thought they were for then, and he's pulling them back to now, but also seeds that we sown in previous seasons that we have not reaped for, and now is the season where we're going to start reaping those things. So those are the old things, but there's also new things where God's actually going to be releasing some things that are going to be very quick to happen, where there's going to be a lot of people that will sow something and see almost an immediate response. And so that one of the things that we're in a season of reaping from things both old and from new, and that's one of the things that's going on in this season of the church right now. One of the other kind of key things, and this is an observation, that we're in a place, especially as a prophetic movement, where God is dealing with foundation issues. And I feel like there's been some foundation issues where some things have shifted in the foundation, and they need to be shored up to keep the house at a place of being level. And foundational issues, the things of the kingdom, they don't go beyond Christ. The only way to go into the deeper things of God is to go deeper into Christ, not to go beyond Christ. And Paul warns about that in Colossians. He talks about people, they just keep on talking about their visions and their experiences, and they move away from Christ. They start talking about these experiences, but they don't keep it centered on the foundations, and the foundations are the cross and the blood, the resurrection. If we don't understand the power of the blood, the power of the cross, and the power of resurrection, we are not going to be able to go further into the things that God has for us. Anything that we do, it's going to be off balance, off level, and the building will end up toppling. And there's going to be a separation that's happening for those that are willing to come back to the foundations and shore in deeper, because the deeper things of God, the more you press into understanding what it was that the cross actually did and the meaning of the cross, there's no limit to that. That's a door that opens up into eternity. You know, the blood is a door that opens up into eternity. It's not like you get it, oh, I understand the cross, now I'm going to move on. Oh, I understand the blood, I'm going to move on. No, you cannot understand fully what happened at the cross and with the blood. There's so much more than the mind is able to comprehend. And if we will press into those things, we're going to find ourselves in a place of security. But for those ministries and those churches that keep on going on to the new thing that's not founded on the old thing, that's not about the work of Christ as its center, it's not all about Jesus, that they're going to actually build something that'll end up being top heavy, and it's going to topple and it's going to fall. And that fall may happen sooner, may happen late, but we're in this season right now where we're figuring out foundations as a church, foundations as ministries, and it is more important than ever to have the foundations correct. Because, you know, the writer of Hebrews, he's talking to these people, it's like, you want to go learn new things, but you haven't even figured out the principle, the basic doctrines, the elementary principles of Christianity. And we've got to have those accurate, because that is the deeper things. The deeper things are the simple things, but they're not so simple. They're inexhaustible when we begin to press into those things. So that's another thing that I see going on in the church right now. And the other piece that's going on in the church is I think that we're starting to find people. And this is specifically in America, and I think it's about America, but it's also affecting the church. But we're starting to find people that are breaking free of the illusion of the fear of man. The spirit of the fear of man has so controlled America and controlled the church that we think that what agrees with the spirit of the fear of man is loving, when it's actually hateful, it's actually spiteful. And so that illusion is being broken by people seeing the reality of where it leads. And we're beginning to have that thing broken off of us. And we're going to be stepping into a season of freedom from the spirit of the fear of man. And I believe that we're coming into a place, and I know many people that are actually praying for this to happen, where the spirit of the fear of the Lord is going to begin to visit meetings and visit churches and visit people. And as that begins to happen on a broader scale, there will be a sense of holiness, but also a sense of maturity that will come back into the body of Christ, and will actually go further. We'll have a higher level of authority, because it's only through the fear of the Lord that we can develop wisdom, and wisdom is required to wisely steward authority. If we do not have wisdom, we will not steward authority well. And so wisdom, the beginning of wisdom, is the fear of the Lord. And so the fear of the Lord is going to begin to visit some. It's going to begin to visit some places where God is raising up leaders that will be leaders 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and some maybe even 5 years from now. They will be marked by that, and it will give them what they need, so that in the place of leadership that they're coming into, in the place of authority that they're coming into, that they'll be safe and they'll be able to be trusted. Now, that's another thing that I'm seeing happening in the church as well. So there's so much that's going on, because when you ask, like, well, what's happening in the church? I mean, one of the questions, like, well, what do you mean by the church? Because what's happening in the global church is one thing. What's happening in the church in Africa, what's happening in the church in Asia, in China, or in India is different. What's happening in the church in Sweden is different than what's happening in the church in the UK. What's happening in the church in Israel? What's happening to the church in America? There's different things that are happening where there are some themes. But I will say another thing, and this is something that I found, and again, this is in churches in America and in Europe specifically that I've seen this. I've seen a growing true hunger for a move of God. No longer a desperation that comes out of a poverty mentality where, oh, I hope God does something, and maybe I'm going to win the lottery and there'll be revival tonight, or there'll be, God will move. But a true, genuine hunger and trust that God is going to move. And there's an increase of expectation. And I feel like we're on the cusp of something being poured out where we're going to start to see another move of miracles and of the presence of the Lord that's going to result in evangelism and souls being saved, people coming into the kingdom, because that is the purpose of heaven, is people coming into the kingdom. God is longing for all of his children to come home. He doesn't want to lose any of them. It's the beat of his heart. And the church is beginning to rise up in true hunger for the power of God that's necessary for that to happen at the level that it's supposed to happen. And as that begins to happen, it's not only going to affect things that are happening here, but it will begin to allow even more finances to be sent from the Western church into the Eastern church and into the third world church, so that real kingdom expansion can happen in those places. And it's not just about finances, it's about resources. But finances are a part of it, but there will also be missionaries that'll be sent out. And I think that we're going to see in the Pentecostal and the charismatic church, as God begins to move, this next time that he moves, you're going to find many people that are getting called to the nations, not so that they can go and take a camera so that they can build a ministry because of the miracles that they see there, but people that will give their lives for the gospel, that will be so burdened for a people group that they will go and they'll sell everything and they'll be there, they'll live there, and they'll spend decades there or seasons there, or maybe their whole lives there. and see the kingdom of God come in power in those places. And that's one of the things that'll mark this next coming move of God that I don't believe is very far away. So those are some of the things that I'm seeing. Hopefully that's helpful. I'm very curious as to what you're seeing. If you're watching this and you have seen some things, you feel like what God is doing in the church, maybe in your specific church or in your nation or your area or worldwide, get on our forum on the Streams Tribe portal on our website. Get on the forum and make a note of that. Write it down. Let's get some interaction on there. We have this forum that we've created for our tribe members just to help to create some conversation and get some interaction. We look at all those. We don't always are able here at the staff to be able to respond to all of them, but we definitely see them all and would love to see your comments there. So bless you guys. Thanks for joining us for this Fireside Chat. We'll see you next time.